Welcome to Mindful Live 80. It is the 23rd of May 2022. Welcome. I am your host Nathan Springer. I'm happy that you are here. Welcome to Mindful Life, and tonight we're going to talk about a couple issues. I'm going to see if we can make full circle from talking about this monkeypox business. I am no epidemiologist. I am not giving anyone expert advice. I'm giving no one health advice. You take your own health advice on anything. That's not what this is about. We're talking about news and information. So we're going to see if we could make the full circle from monkeypox to our Prime Minister down here in Trinidad and Tobago apparently falling for an online scam. And an online scam, it seems, of the most trivial nature. It's the two plague. Yeah, flying fast. Yes, the year is flying fast. Wow. It is already the 23rd of May. Wow. It's like from seeing the date every day, you're like, wow. It still shocks you that the time has gone on so far already. But yeah, the year is flying fast. Now, I am streaming live over on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And anywhere you are viewing it right now, make sure you're hitting that like button. If you're over on TikTok, you double tap that screen. Over on YouTube, you hit the like button. If you're looking at this on the repeat, still hit the like button. Drop a comment. Say something. Tell me what you think. If you're on Instagram also too, a like doesn't harm. It only helps. So yeah, you hit that like button and let's get into it. You go subscribe over to YouTube, Nathan Springer there. In case you ever missed any of the lives, yes, we are on Mindful Live 80. That kind of suggests there was 79 before there. If you wanted to find out what anyone before that was, they were all over on YouTube. Well, for the most part. So yeah, we're starting with monkeypox. Now, this isn't really news. In another time, this would not have been news, to be very honest. In another time, at least it would not have been news in Trinidad and Tobago. This is news because the world has become so much smaller that news in different parts of the world make news anywhere much easier. And then also to be very fair, it's also news because we're still in a pandemic. Apparently, we're still in the pandemic. It isn't even finished yet, and now we're hearing about some scary monkeypox coming out there. So obviously, it will make some news. I wonder if there's a vaccine for that. There is, they say. The vaccine that they use for it, I believe, is the same as the smallpox vaccine, and they say it works pretty well. Mr. Rowley is a gatekeeper for the world leaders who run things from on top, and Mr. Rowley has to go with massa agenda and is all the love of money. Okay. But yes, monkeypox is out here now. A whole new thing. Multi-country monkeypox outbreak in non-endemic countries. This is from the WHO, so you know this is standardized stuff. You know the WHO is looking to expand their power even more now. Many countries are attempting to sign some understanding to give the WHO more control in times of emergency. So this is from the top experts of the experts from the 21st of May 2022. Outbreak at a glance since 13th of May 2022. Look at that date. Remember that date. It might come in handy at some point in the future. That date might come in handy. Since 13th of May 2022, cases of monkeypox have been reported to WHO from 12 member states that are not endemic for monkeypox virus. Across 3 WHO regions, epidemiological investigations are ongoing. However, reported cases thus far have no established travel links to endemic areas. You see, the endemic areas for monkeypox are in Africa. So, it's kind of strange that it started popping up over in Europe. And that is what was making it so large of an issue. Because monkeypox endemic countries are Benin, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Gabon, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Liberia. All right, you get the idea. Quite a few countries in Africa have this monkeypox endemic there. And I saw someone pointing out that this new outbreak of monkeypox was in Europe, and you could predict what the skin color in Europe generally is. And nearly all the newspapers and magazines and online websites that were showing you the pictures of monkeypox were showing you black people. And I don't know how many of you know, oh gosh, what's this guy's name by the doctor, the doctor, the super African doctor, super black guy. And every time something strange goes on, someone has to pop up with him. Umar, right? Dr. Umar. You have to put on the Dr. Umar look like, all these pictures are all African, but I think there's no grand conspiracy against the black diaspora. There might just be laziness and convenience on the part of the media, because it is endemic in those African countries. So if you go searching for pictures of the disease, you most likely are going to find it on African people. And sometimes I wonder about so many diseases being endemic to Africa, and so many different viruses, etc., 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 being found in Africa. But then when you think about the biodiversity of Africa and the length of time Africa has had to stew inside there, you'd expect some of those things there. And what you notice so many of the times is that this super dangerous thing, really scary, has been living in Africa for thousands of years with nobody bothering, apparently. But as soon as it gets out, all of a sudden it wants to engulf the world. And that kind of tells you something about the ecosystems and balance. That usually when things are in the right place, when they are in the ecosystem they are meant to be in, there's usually the counterbalance for it. So, it doesn't overrun this particular ecosystem. But when it escapes that ecosystem and you bring it somewhere else, then is where the drama starts. But anyway, that is being sidetracked a bit. That's not exactly what we are talking about. We are talking about this virus with this monkeypox and how it came to be over there in Europe. Now, there have been some links. Based on currently available information, cases have mainly, but not exclusively, been identified amongst men who have sex with men, seeking care in primary care and sexual health clinics. The men who have sex with men are shortened as an acronym, MSM, just by the way, and that's the group that it is having the highest spread in. Now, the silly thing about the world today, in our pursuit of empathy at all costs, it seems like we are always trying to protect those that are more vulnerable, and sometimes doing the ridiculous to try and do it. So a lot of articles were using euphemisms, and you're trying to understand what are you really talking about. And because of that, a lot of it was something kind of like it's some kind of gay STD, to be very honest at the beginning, because of the whispers and the hushes, and like they didn't really want to say it. And it's being spread among sexual networks, and it's being spread in fetish festivals, etc., etc., etc. And you weren't getting the full picture of it, at least to me, from the beginning of some of these stories, at least in my reading. First US monkeypox case confirmed, with gay men especially at risk. Health officials in Massachusetts have confirmed a single case of the monkeypox virus in a man who recently traveled to Canada. Recent outbreaks of the virus, which is endemic to Central and Western Africa, but rare elsewhere, have occurred in the UK, Spain, and Portugal. The unidentified adult male in Massachusetts is the first confirmed case of the virus in the US this year. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health today confirmed a single case of the monkeypox in virus in adult male to Canada. The department, yada, 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 yada. And nothing really explaining anything clear. Good night, Jojo Bed. Good night. Until eventually, I got to a Newsweek article that kind of gave a clearer picture. Monkeypox cases in Belgium may be linked to fetish festival. Organizers of a fetish festival in Belgium are warning attendees of possible exposure to monkeypox after public health officials linked 3 cases to the event that recently concluded in Antwerp. The Darklands Festival posted the notice on its website on Friday. Yeah. So, monkeypox actually spreads by just physical contact with an infected person who has the lesions or the boils, etc., etc., etc. You have contact with them and it spreads to you. Simple like that. It's not exactly an STD. But these festivals, what makes it particularly high risk to these festivals and this particular demographic is that, generally speaking, the number of familiars that they meet with in a very short period of time is insanely high. You see, there are some biological reasons for that, to say my ever famous line, because men generally have more of those, is it androgens, those hormones like testosterone, and a lot of them do have an impact on sex drive. So very often men have heightened sex drive to women, and if you have that dynamic of a man attempting to woo a woman, you have that limiting factor of the woman saying, hey, ease me up. Not right now. But when you have all men with heightened sex drive, and it seems many studies seem to suggest that many people in the gay community even have particularly higher drives, and then you don't even have the risk generally of pregnancy, etc. Yeah, so those festivals get wild, extremely wild. There's a website for that festival. If you are very interested to go find out, you can feel free. Darklands, they explain all that the festival does. It's 5 days of festival, and I believe there were 2 festivals, and then there was a bathhouse in the Canary Islands or something like that, and those were the epicenters of the spread. Darklands seems like an interesting place. The main parties on Thursday are mayhem, Friday's fusion, Saturday's rage, Sunday's fury. The extra parties, after parties, horse fair, skins and punks nighter, power dynamics lounge, alpha party, fetish alliance, gay zones. I wouldn't even dare click on those things. I am running a family friendly program here. So yeah, they got lit. they were apparently real lit over there in the festivals, and it involved a lot of physical contact that unfortunately leads to the spread of this monkeypox. Now, something interesting is that the monkeypox is endemic to Central and was it West Africa, but that suggests that someone from Central Africa was up there in the festival enjoying what is that after party, enjoying the horse fair or some one of those things. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, here's the even more interesting thing about this. An institute called the Nuclear Threat Institute. Now, there are millions of institutes out there. When these wealthy people make a lot of money and their conscience starts hurting them, they invest in some kind of charity something, and it makes an NGO, puff, out of thin air. So another one of these institutes, called the Nuclear Threat Institute, they ran a study last year. And I stumbled upon this, and it was nearly too strange to believe. Strength global systems to prevent and respond to high consequence biological threats results from the 2021 tabletop exercise conducted in partnership with the Munich Security Conference. The summary says in March 2021, NTI partnered with the Munich Security Conference to conduct a tabletop exercise on reducing high consequence biological threats. The exercise examined gaps in national and international biosecurity and pandemic preparedness architectures, exploring opportunities to improve prevention and response capabilities for high consequence biological events. All right, so they were basically testing our response and capability to deal with biological events of high consequence, so very dangerous biological events such as pandemics or such as biological warfare or such as biological attacks. Now, you hit the old trusty CTRLF and you find the occurrence of me in this document. Get down there to the nitty-gritty of what they were getting into. And the discussion was organized in 3 sequential moves corresponding with scenario developments, followed by a roundtable discussion of broader biosecurity. And you'd see the attack that they had foreseen was on May 15, 2022. And the scenario was monkeypox outbreak in Brinia, 1,421 cases, 4 deaths. No international warnings or advisories, yada, yada, yada. Now, how are you going to meet last year March? Outline a theoretical situation where there's an outbreak through an attack of monkeypox on May 15th, and then on May 13th this year, there's an outbreak of monkeypox. Like, what you all doing to us? I mean, I'm trying not to be conspiratorial here. I am trying to stay out of the rabbit hole. You understand? Let's stay out of the rabbit hole. But what is this? Someone explain this to me. You're trying to tell me this is all coincidence. I am sorry, but that's a hard one to swallow. This is all coincidence. They sat down, plotted out a possibility of an attack of monkeypox on May 15th, and then on May 13th, we see monkeypox outbreak. Like, what are you all telling me? They're just really good at predictions. Well, they over good. Talk heavy, you're jumping late, bro. The truth is, when you jump in late, what you do is head over to YouTube. The live over on YouTube always has what you missed. You could always catch up there. But we're talking about monkeypox and the scenario that an association called the Nuclear Threat Institute predicted last year in a round tabletop discussion. They just sat and they spoke about these ideas and drew up scenarios. And in this scenario that they drew up back in Europe in March last year, they drew up a scenario of an attack of monkeypox being released on May the 15th of this year. And then on May the 13th of this year, whoops, we have an outbreak of monkeypox in some very sketchy in some real sketchy situations. Let me just tell you, you go and search for the Darklands Festival out there in Belgium and see what the Darklands Festival is. And that's where the monkeypox outbreak started. I mean, if this thing needs to spread from skin to skin contact, if this thing needs to spread from skin to skin contact, I can't think of a better place to start than a gay porgy. I just don't want to get too direct there, Let's not get into the details, the gory details. 5 days of it, and then a gay bathhouse out in the Canary Islands. Now, that's as ideal of a spreading place for skin-to-skin contact disease as anywhere could be. That's as ideal as it gets. And it just so happened it happened on May the 13th. While they predicted this May the 15th last, they're like, oh, come on, man. What are you all doing to me? So then, of course, you have to see what this Nuclear Threat Institute is. Where this place comes from. Who sponsors these places? Now, that's what I like to do. Because many people, when they hear non-governmental organizations or a charity or an institute or an academy, you think, wow, they must be serious people. But then, if they're non-governmental or they're non-profit, how are these people living in exclusive communities, in gated communities, driving Bentleys and flying private jets all around the world? Somebody is giving them money, apparently. So you would have to find out who that somebody is. who is sponsoring this institute. So you go on the breakdown of this organization. It's an implementing NGO. The Nuclear Threat Institute is a non-profit, non-partisan organization with a mission to strengthen global security by reducing the risk of use and preventing the spread of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. Founded in 2001 by former U.S. Senator Sam Nunn and CNN founder Ted Turner, NTI is guided by a prestigious international board of directors. All right. Well, who pays for all of this? Who's paying for all of this? Over the past 10 years, NTI has received funding from individual American philanthropists, including Warren Buffett, Fred Eisman, Peter G. Peterson, George Russell, Ted Turner. They have also received significant support from foundations such as the Carnegie Corporation of New York, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It seems like they put that pretty low down there. Hey, I find if Uncle Bill, we went pretty deep on the Sabga report Friday. Someday we went in on the Sabga report. We did. It's there. We could discuss it this week, but I did go in on it. But yeah, my opinion to Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill, if you want people to stop acting like you want to take over the world, or you have bad intentions, well, stop doing creepy stuff. Why is his name always there? Why always you? Why always... Wow, I forgot that player's name. What was that guy's name again? Balotelli. Like Bill Gates is the Balotelli. Why always you, Uncle Bill? Why always you? And interestingly enough, the news, because if you notice, this NTI has the name Nuclear Threat Institute. So this interest in the biological threat side wasn't always there. They started off as having an interest in nuclear threats. Now, the interesting thing is, thanks to a generous donation of $3.56 million from the Open Philanthropy Project, the Nuclear Threat Institute Biosecurity Program, in collaboration with the Johns Hopkins, yada, 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 and that will create a global health security index. So, they created this index with some funding, and the funding for the specific biosecurity side was from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, previously provided NTI with a grant of $250,000 toward this effort. The biological side of the Nuclear Threat Institute is him too. I don't understand this. I really don't. Now, honestly, I don't buy the full conspiracies like he is really on the dark side trying to fully take over the world as a mastermind. I don't think it's that. I just think that many people have the idea that they could make a perfect world. The problem is that when some people get wealthy enough, they reach the point where they could try to make that a reality. And I think that what we see happening a lot in modern times is some people getting wealthy enough where they could try to make that perfect world for themselves. And I think that is actually what this whole business with Mr. Bill Gates and all this nonsense that is going on there is. That's what I think it actually is. The man trying to make the world a perfect place just in his head. And the truth is, no one's vision of a perfect world, no one person's vision of a perfect world would work for everyone. It never works. It just never works because no one is that smart. No one could account for enough eventualities to create a perfect world like that. And this, like, one of the scariest things to me is when that makes this particular person scary is the way he talks about the world having too many people. The scary thing about speaking like that to me is it kind of insinuates that we need to do something about it. And if the world has too many people, what do we do about it? That kind of sounds like it doesn't go down a positive line to me. Now, positive or not, it seems like our Prime Minister was very happy to accept a donation from Mr. Bill Gates. TNG to get significant funding from Bill Gates Foundation. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has announced that Trinidad and Tobago has been chosen to receive funding from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which he described as not insignificant. Dr. Rowley made the announcement at a news conference he hosted at the Piarco International Airport on his return to TNT from Guyana yesterday. And then fast forward a couple hours later, it's a scam. PM says call and funding from Bill Gates Foundation was fake. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has said that information he received suggesting that Trinidad and Tobago was being offered significant funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came from a scammer. The Prime Minister told a news conference Sunday that he had received word from the United Nations General Secretary that TNT was in place to receive the funding. However, the Prime Minister issued a statement today saying it was all a scam. Now, how do you get scammed believing you got a message from the United Nations General Secretary General? Like, bro, you're showing your age. Uncle Kitos, you're showing your age. Like, sir, you don't make those announcements. Yeah, he got one of those WhatsApps. Another pathway for the coming monkeypox. He got one of those WhatsApp broadcasts. You have just no. If you update your status now, Bill and Melinda Gates have made a donation in your name. All you need to do is update your WhatsApp status and forward this message to the entirety of Trinidad and Tobago to receive that donation. And Uncle Kitos hit the forward. He hit select all and he clicked send. He sent it on broadcast, and it's like if he was in airplane mode on the flight over from Guyana, that means while he going through the little processing in customs and whatever, he probably now get that little message there and a little quick message there on the phone. What? We win? What? And he run out to the press conference, busy, and say that, like, sir, you have daughters, you have children who up with the times. You should have shoot them. I could tell you. And I know my mom's even shame at that because she's sensible on that side. She knows that some of these scammers are above her level of IT proficiency. So anybody sending my mom's anything strange, moms keep that on her phone. She don't even forwarding it to me to see what it is, Keep that on her phone, comes and shows me and say, this real? What is this? What is about? Because she figured out a long time these scammers out here smart. Listen, I don't understand. Good night, unknown boy. You need a youth next to you, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, a youth next to you there to show them the message and ask them, this legit? Before you go out there and, run it on a press conference. Could have been avoided if he would not ad-lib so much. Best I message Keith and tell him I am Putin, yes? Ooh. Tough. That, I honestly, when I saw that, I wasn't sure it was a real story. I saw that and for a bit I was like, wait, this real? I had to go and search up a little bit online. Anybody else talking about this? I don't believe this real. I don't think a prime minister would get caught like this. I that was shocking to me. I am dumbfounded how something like that happens. I don't know how something like that happens in an office like the Prime Minister. That's you're starting to look like you're starting to act like old Biden over in the US. There, like, you know, not to corpus mentis up there. Like, you know, some things are slipping a bit. Nathan, I'm sure somebody got fired for that mishap. Nah, I don't feel anybody got fired for that mishap, because I feel that happened all on the Prime Minister. I feel that happened mostly on the Prime Minister. To be very honest, I do not want to believe that someone hired to professionally handle communication going in and out of the head of state, of the leader of our country, would allow something like that to happen. I don't believe that. If a communications professional allowed that to happen, well, then they deserve to be fired. I have no sorry to feel for you in that case. Anything is anything since Double G gone, yes? Well, as you're speaking about Double G, I saw an interesting bit on the papers that it was from an interview from two old police. And it's so strange the way how clearly they seem like they can see things when they're outside. It's just strange. That's actually the next thing we're going to talk about. Two old police talking, and I think this is important, especially considering the crime situation as it is in Trinidad right now. That end nothing, you should fire somebody just for so. Former cops Philbert Hyde decry indiscipline in police service. Numerous issues plaguing the police service have broken the public's trust in the institution, but at the core of it all is indiscipline and the lack of adequate oversight over officers, according to Wayne Watchman Hyde and former Commissioner of Police James Philbert, speaking on the Eye on Dependency program on I-95.5 FM yesterday. The former senior officers outlined a slew of issues they say are compromising the service. Philbert said the public's mistrust of the police was not unwarranted, as it is based on their experience with officers and what they say and how they treat people. Now, Mr. James Philbert was the Commissioner of Police. Remember the time Kiara took his phone and played a video for 7 minutes? Yes. And lots of memes came out of that one. Good night, Jim Britton. Blessed night, humble African. Both over on Instagram. There, Christopher Scott on YouTube says, yes, they always have ideas after they go out office, but when they was there, they wasn't progressive at all. Yeah, I suppose he's talking about these guys here, because this was the Commissioner of Police, and he is now speaking about what the real bad issues inside of the police service. Now, very interestingly, he relates a story about when he was in the police service as a senior police officer, and he went to the Shogunas police station. I went to visit the inspector, and I was told to sit and wait. After about half an hour, I observed that no one was coming, so I got up and asked to see him again, and a female officer said, "Did I not tell you to sit down and wait?" I said, "Well, ma'am, I want to see him because it's important. I didn't identify myself." And she said, "I'm going to lock you up because of some disorderly conduct and some kind of thing," he said. Those things happen, and when you examine it, you ask yourself what that was about. Why should that happen? That's the problem. I think a lot of the police. Now, one of my very early contemplations over on TikTok referred to distillation, a process by which you separate a solute and a solvent, and you separate things that have different evaporation points, different boiling points. What am I saying? Different boiling points. And I was pointing out that I think that same example, that same principle could be used in general life also. There are certain things, there are certain jobs, there are certain portfolios, there are certain practices that tend to sort to a certain kind of character. You see, in distillation, for example, you boil a liquid with a whole bunch of different liquids. One of the examples, I believe, is in the whole making of the different, separating the different fuels, fractional distillation in crude oil. If it's all boiled and they all evaporate at a different temperature, they all boil at a different temperature, then they would escape at a different temperature, they'll boil out at a different temperature, and you could separate them at different levels as they leave. Now, in society, if you boil certain things at a certain temperature, and you have a specific tube leaving at a certain temperature for specific people, you are going to get those specific people. Now, here's what I mean. If in society, the specific situations that we have lined up and geared up to select police, select for a certain kind of person in the society, then we'd all end up with a specific kind of person being a police. What does society select for in choosing police? Average schooling, no obvious criminal record, and the promise of being above the law to some extent. If you combine what the police service offers with what it asks for, and you think about that realistically, and you say, like, you go out into the general society and see everyone in the general society who has medium to low school qualifications, and don't get me wrong, I am not saying that school qualifications should necessarily be the be all and end all. It's just part of what they ask for. But you go out in society and ask that, and you see, okay, well, nearly everyone in society raises their hands. All right, great. And then you ask, anyone wants to be able to dominate their fellow civilian? Well, some people are not interested in that. They put their hands down. Now, the people that would be interested in that, who would those people be? Now, I am not saying that all police are bullies, but I am saying that a lot of bullies are police. And for example, the other thing that police would select for might be some people who are genuinely civic-minded, people who really think that they can help their society, and they may be idealistic. The police service and what it offers and what it asks for may select for some people like that too. So you may have some genuinely civic-minded people inside of the police service, but you also have a lot of bullies who couldn't get their way back in secondary school, or a lot of people who were bullied back in school days, and now they got the chance to get their upper hand. They have something to prove. And I understand if some police may not like that, but even your own fellow officers are saying some things like this. It seems to me that a lot of police have something to prove. I think we need to check the mannerisms and how we select police. To me, the mannerisms of police in terms of protect and serve, the mannerism of the general police service is supposed to be something like a nurse. Not the huggish nurse, because we know you could get those huggish nurses too. But you know, the nice, kind nurses that could still be firm. You understand that they mean business, but you could understand that they care about you a certain amount. I find, in my general experience in the hospital healthcare system, that seems to be more the rule than the exception with nurses. We have some nice nurses, and I think that's more of the temperament you want with police officers. You want people who are on that protect and serve head. I always remember about 2 years ago, I was headed down to Sangre Grande, driving, I wasn't going to Grande, I was going to Mayara actually, but passing through Grande, and that was a holiday weekend or some kind of something going on. And I was driving down there, and there was a roadblock. And I'm there, and I'm like, oh gosh, these police, and you have to deal with these police again. And you know how many of the police act. And you know, many of the police act. Say like, oh my goodness, we have to do this again. And then I pulled up, and it was, to say it in the Trini way, it was two Tanti police officers. I believe they were municipal police down in Grandy there. I am always upset that I never remembered or took their names. Two Tanti police officers, and let me tell you, they basically searched my vehicle and took my information to some extent, and we were smiling and laughing and thinking by the end of it. That was the most pleasant stop and search I ever had in my entire life. I was blown away. I was blown away. I wish those two Tanti police down in Grandy Municipal Police, I wish two of them could train the entire police service on how to deal with the public. Remember, when you're dealing with the public, you're doing this whole day, every day. But when the public has to come up to a police officer, that is an extremely high stress situation. This is your job that you're doing whole day, day in, day out. This person having an interaction with the police officer, this is not something that they are accustomed to. Nearly no one except a criminal is accustomed with constant interaction with a police officer like that. It's a high stress situation. Very often it could be risking money, and people in Trinidad and Tobago, we know how our laws are and how some sporadic police are, and we know that given a chance, I'm lucky it's municipal because Grandy police are the worst. Where was I? I said that, and you threw off my whole train of thought there. But yeah, to me, that is what we're looking for in police much more. It's a high stress situation whenever police meet someone. Whenever the police meet someone, this is their job, but this isn't the person's job. Their job isn't meeting the police. So I think you should treat with it as such. Remember, this might be them losing money here. This might be them ending up in prison. If they come to drop a report in the police station, it may be because some catastrophe has happened in their life. They are meeting you at a point in their life where things may be unraveling. And in their entire life may be at the position where it's unraveling. And you, the huggish, braying animal that you decide to be, are going to run up in somebody's life at the moment it's unraveling, and then cuss them and treat them huggish and treat them like you expect them to know everything that you know. It's terrible. It is terrible. And answers like Richard Glubman just gave, I think, is some of the problem in the police service. That so often when criticism goes into the police service, it is almost always reflected. The very strong inspector that does his own TV show, he is the master at that. He is a mirror. Every single criticism, no matter how accurate, no matter how obvious it is, it always reflects and bounces off back to the public, because obviously the police are never wrong. But the commissioner of police, former commissioner of police, outlined the time he himself went to meet an inspector in Shogunas, and a police officer was huggish to him. It would be very interesting to wonder what he did to that officer, what came about out of that situation. And I wish whatever punishment he gave to that officer who was huggish to him in the Shogunas station, I wish anytime a police officer is caught being huggish to the general public, that if they have it on record, the same punishment ensues. This is your job. Your job is customer service. You're to protect and serve everyone. You're not prison officers treating with a prison population here. You're dealing with regular civilians walking about doing their general daily duties. The other police officer also had his own statements to make. Former Corporal Wayne Hyde said the issue begins from the moment candidates are selected at the academy, with people getting into the profession for the wrong reasons, among others. The indiscipline and lack of supervision, he said, is clear, with officers sporting beards, gold chains, and gold rings while in uniform. Listen, old uncle, come out for them. Old uncle, come out for them. Friends and family, or someone to know you to pull in the service. They are police officers with little or no qualifications and have the job. Christopher Scott is saying over there on YouTube. Yeah. All officer come out for them. He said it is clear with officers sporting beards, gold chains, and gold rings while in uniform. Now, here's the thing. The young people may say something like a gold chain or a gold ring or a beard, I like my beard, has nothing to do with your ability to be disciplined. And I tend to agree. Here's the difference. If the rules of an organization speak directly to it, then it does have something to do with your discipline. And signs of the rules faltering are signs of indiscipline creeping in. Now, there's a principle that many people hate, and there are many sociologists that attempt to say it's not actually true, and they try to do silly tricks with statistics to try and make it seem like it's not true, but the evidence is too obvious. The broken windows policy. It's the policy that kind of pulled New York back from being a hellscape back in the 80s to being the more late 70s, early 80s, to being the thriving metropolis into the 90s that many people sang about and made epic movies, etc., etc. about. That principle was the broken windows idea for the general, to some extent. The general idea is that if you pass by a building and see broken windows in the building, it's more likely that more things are wrong inside the building beside broken windows. Now, some people hate that idea because it's generally the truth that the poorer, lower class people in society and lower class places in a country, in a city, would be the places would be the places where would have broken windows, etc. But the truth is, those are the places that have more crime too, so that doesn't disprove the theory. And that principle, where they focused on even minor offenses, so even jaywalking, even spitting on the sidewalk, even littering, those minor offenses were focused on to a serious enough extent. And what they noticed is they were able to actually work their way up to the larger societal ills and cure some of them. And I think that may be the reverse of what we're seeing in the police service, where we're seeing some broken windows, we're seeing the gold chains and the changes in the uniform. And the strange thing is, so many police officers on social media with profile pictures with the government gun on their chest. I mean, if you like that flex, that's you, but I find personally, I find that to be inappropriate for what it is. I mean, if it's your personal weapon that you are legally licensed to carry and they allow you to take pictures with it, then fine, it's your weapon. But for your job to be to protect and serve, and you're flexing with a gun, I find that slightly inappropriate, but to each their own. But these may all be symptoms of the slight cracks in discipline that we see permeating through the TCPS. They should bring back them short pants. I'm sure they will humble themselves. Yes, they should. Yes, they should. I'm in agreement. Nothing like a good short pants and long socks to let a brother humble himself. They'll boil down real quick. But actually, no. I changed my mind. Maybe if it was 2007 and you brought back the short pants, it would have worked. If you bring back that short pants now, you're going to have some wet men police there. Listen, short pants is the boat ride uniform. Short pants and a floral shirt. Listen, them policemen going to be pumping in their short pants. They're not going to mind. I assure you, they're going to make it a flick. And the fact that there's a significant female population in Trinidad and Tobago that are already predisposed to be attracted to servicemen, they are all of a sudden going to find that short pants so attractive. Oh, look at those calves. Look at those Yeah, I actually don't. You bring back the short pants, we in trouble still. I think we in trouble still if you bring back the short pants. It's already too late. That flight has gone. That flight has flown. But the man went on. He said friendship, kinship, and relationship are ruining the ethic within the police service. People have developed friends with people in the service to the extent that they can't tell them what to do when they are doing something wrong, he said. Everybody bringing in their uncle, their tanty, their nenen, and in a position, and the other officers who have to control them are afraid to tell them anything because they might go and report to their family. He said also he had this big shot he hit too. So he hit the friend thing. Oh batch. Yeah, the friend thing, that's true. That's also true. And that makes the police service into a kind of gang instead of a service. Instead of a service, it feels more of that gang vibe where it's like we get blooded into the gang together, you know. This is from my clique. We are from the city. Oh batch here, you know. It's more of a kind of gang feel sometimes. Yeah. All right. He spoke about that. Then he spoke about the family ties, and I think anybody living in Trinidad and Tobago for a significant enough time know about that very well, that there are some police dynasties. Pop, grandpops, pops, and son, and somewhere along the line somebody running a block. Pops, grandpops, pops, and son, and somewhere along the line somebody running a block. You know what? This is Trinidad and Tobago. Right? This is Trinidad. You're leaving me alone in the chat. Let me get some M's in the chat if this is Trinidad and Tobago and you all know what we're talking about. That you know of police dynasties, you know, running down, and somewhere along the line, the allegations of block running is in there. Some M's for mindful in the chat if you know what we're talking about. We don't have to get too specific. I know some of you all in the TikTok chat, you all like to get out of hand. You all like to get out of hand and call names and thing. But not me. Anyway, listen the big file he went down to there. He said romantic relationships between officers has created a messy pool where nobody wants to tell anyone what to do. Philbert warned that the public trust needs to be repaired and safeguarded. So, the romantic relationships inside of the TTPS are creating a messy pool. Jojo Bed, you will say that yourself, sir. Not I. But I do recall often I'm not talking recently, nothing recently, I'm talking old news. You've heard you'd regularly hear known inspector's son shot, but he was known to the police. Or you see sergeant's nephew arrested in a bus somewhere. Yeah. Wait. Have you seen to mention under romantic allegations? But listen, bro. There are so many scenes to mention on that romantic allegations thing. There are so many to mention. But the thing is, there are allegations. Now, just the instance, the frequency of the tragic love triangle, murder, suicide, etc., inside of the police service tells you something. I don't know how many of you remember. You all stop playing with I Love Boots in the chat. I don't know how many of you remember the scene that play off in Grand Bazaar how many ever years ago, where, you know, fired on, fired back, ting, yeah. I don't know how many of you remember that whole scene. And everyone involved, I believe, were police officers. I think it's kind of known. When you hear some women who've been hurt by police officers speak about the promiscuity inside the service. I've heard. Listen, if you're a female police officer, a WPC, if you're a WPC out there and you want to feel offended, go listen to the wife of a police officer, a male police officer, go listen to her speak about female police officers. I've heard some wives of police officers speak about female police officers. And if you're a female police officer, they don't think highly of you. They do not think highly of you at all. Talk Heavy podcast, I remember that very well. I remember a certain, was it an immigrant in an inspector's uniform with his hat or something of the sort? I feel Nathan have to put up a sign in the back of him, we mayn't deal with no police. I am related to him. I love Boots, that's my brother. Yeah, so the romantic allegations part. If we're being real, as Trinidadians, as Trinbagonians living in this society, if we are being real, it is something that we know to be true. I mean, it's not any kind of lie or false allegation out there. We know that, there are some entanglements, that the police service is known to have some complicated entanglements, and those complicated entanglements can devolve into some very, very heated situations. And the thing is, even if they don't devolve into the extremities, how is a police service able to run on integrity if the integrity of relationships cannot be held? No one is keeping the integrity of their relationships. How do you expect them to keep any other integrity? I don't subscribe to the belief that some man is really dishonest in this area in his life, but he would be honest some other way. Not generally. Dishonest people are dishonest. People without integrity are without integrity. So if you are without integrity in your relationships, then I think you would be without integrity in the running of your duties in the police service too. You all okay, dose that TV. Yes, you need to chill. Talk Heavy podcast. You need to chill. All right, folks, that's all I have for now on the YouTube live. I will be over on TikTok for a little while longer, for a little after live discussion. We'll just be chilling there, not for too long, but if you'd like, you could join me over on TikTok there for the afterlife chat. But I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I'll see you again tomorrow for the next Mindful Life. Tomorrow, if all things work as planned, we're supposed to have a discussion. One of our regular viewers and contributors in the Afterlife session has agreed to discuss, and we discuss the ideas around abortion, and we'll see how that goes, if it all works out to plan. So, see you tomorrow, 9:30 in the Mindful Life. Peace.